Recording started. Hello and most welcome to 1775 of the Heidegger series. We will today continue with Meredith J.C. Warren. This will be a continuation of 1765 of Tasting the Little Scroll, a sensory analysis of divine interaction in Revelation 10:8 to 10. We will continue where we left off at page 5. And we will also see what number it will be in the PDF. Let's have a look. See. That would be 105 in the PDF. And we can go all the way up and put the last sentence. Yes. Its message is not thus made explicit until it is given to John to consume in chapter 10. After which he reveals the message of the scroll in the prophecies that follow the eating. 11:1 to 13 is a summary of these contents. But the full message is laid out in the second half of the book. This is observable through a few thematic shifts that the consumption of the scroll precipitates. Namely, the specificity with which the chronology of the end times is described, and the shifting concern from the sealing of God's chosen to the marking of God's enemies. These shifts indicate significant differences in the functions of the scroll in chapter 5 versus those in chapter 10. First, prior to chapter 10, questions of when are answered vaguely in 610, after the opening of the sealed scroll, the martyrs ask, "How long, sovereign Lord, holy and true, until you judge the inhabitants of the earth and avenge our blood?" The answer is non-specific, a little longer, until the number of their fellow servants and brothers who were to be killed as they had been completed. After John eats the scroll, however, specific time units are used, such as time, times, and half a time. 42 months, or 1,260 days, each adding up to about 3.5 years. These specific time units are used 7 times after 10:8. These 3.5 years refer to the time it will take from Satan's removal from heaven and Christ's ascension to when Christ will return at the end of age for the final victory. You could wait. You could leave like 5-6 lines. Indeed, the mighty angel suggests that time is part of what John will receive in the little scroll when he says in 10:6-7 that the time of waiting will end when the 7th angel blows his trumpet. That is when the mysterious purpose of God will be complete. This shift from vague language to specific language illustrates that consuming the scroll results in a deeper, more thorough understanding of the divine plan. The sealed scroll of chapter 5 does not yield the particular knowledge conveyed by the ingested scroll in chapter 10. Secondly, the scrolls in chapter 5 and chapter 10 play different roles in identifying those who are with God and those who are against God. Before John consumes the scroll in Revelation 10, the text repeatedly refers to those whom God has sealed on their foreheads. Do not harm the earth or the sea or the trees till we have sealed the servants of our God upon their foreheads. This sealing represents the protection of these servants, but also their belonging to the people of God. Do not harm the earth or the sea or the trees till we have sealed the servants of our God upon their foreheads. This sealing represents the protection of these servants, but also their belonging to the people of God. This is in contrast to those who are signified as enemies of God with the mark of the beast. People who have the mark of the beast are mentioned only after John consumes the scroll, just as those who are set apart by the seal of God belong to God. So too, those who are marked with the sign of the beast belong to the beast. There's a shift then in the focus of identifying groups of people before and after the little scroll. Before chapter 10, those who are marked are exclusively marked positively with the seal of the divine. After chapter 10, those who are marked are overwhelmingly marked negatively with the mark of the beast. This symbol only occurs after the little scroll turns John's stomach bitter. Thus, the scroll John is shown in chapter 5 certainly provides him with visions as the seals are opened. However, it is only when John consumes the open scroll in chapter 10 that its contents are revealed. In eating the scroll, John literally internalizes its contents, which he then visualizes for his readers. The scroll with the 7 seals is rendered open, but still incomprehensible until John consumes it. Investigating how the scroll in Revelation 5 is used in the text to yield information makes it clear that the scroll in Revelation 10 works in a different way, not because it is a heavenly scroll, since the scroll in Revelation 5 is also from heaven, but because the scroll in Revelation 10 is consumed. That is, it is the act of ingesting the heavenly substance that allows it to operate in this special way. Hierophagy is not simply the reception of divine materials, but is the incorporation of them into the recipient way that simply viewing a scroll's contents does not accomplish. Sensory imagery in Revelation. John's use of sensory rhetoric in chapter 10 participates in the somatic imagery used in the text as a whole. The apocalypse is replete in almost every line with imagery that evokes a sensory response, from thunderous angelic voices to dazzling visions of heavenly beings, to the painful woes visited on the people of earth by God. Can go up a bit there. The poetics of John's visual and auditory experiences include the consistent use of verbs of seeing and hearing, which several scholars have observed. The use of verbs of seeing therefore punctuates the overall vision narrative in a way that creates episodic units of divine experience. Auditory episodes are sometimes attached to the visual marker, and I saw, such as divine pronouncement or the sounding of a trumpet. Studies on visions in apocalypses are right to focus on this important trope in divine human communication, but have neglected to analyze the rhetorical force of sensory imagery, including visions, on an audience. The somatic language used throughout Revelation, and in particular, I argue, the key scene where John ingests the scroll, exploits cultural knowledge of sensory experience in order to promote the authority of John's message. Examining chapter 10's scroll scene from a sensory perspective is in line with how Revelation expresses meaning, since rich sensory language is used throughout the apocalypse. For instance, the one who sits on the throne in Revelation 4:2 is described as having the appearance of jasper and carnelian, and the throne as encircled by a rainbow that looks like an emerald. Emerging from around the throne are flashes of lightning and voices and peals of thunder, and before the throne burn 7 torches of fire, which are the 7 spirits of God. This opening scene represents just one of many examples of the overwhelming descriptive use of heat, light, noise, and other sensory elements. Persistent use of the color white occurs in numerous places in the Apocalypse. At times, the sun, moon, and stars are made dark, and at one point, even the sky itself is rolled away. In terms of auditory imagery, John often includes angelic or other voices calling out or singing. Singing is particularly prominent. The living creatures that surround the throne of God continually sing praise, and the thunderous multitude of angels sings while surrounding the throne, who are joined by every creature in heaven and on earth and on the sea. The noise created by such a chorus is palpable. The language of revelation experienced by John through sight and hearing is surrounded, however, by countless other instances of bodily and sensory imagery. Earthquakes, incense, and broken bodies permeate the text. Revelation 8 is particularly rich in its use of this kind of rhetoric. The opening of the seventh seal first yields silence, but soon the episode is crowded with sensory language. 7 angels are given trumpets, and another angel takes a censer of incense to the altar. We read how the smoke of incense rises up. Along with prayers to God. When the angel takes his censer, fills it with fire from the altar, and throws it down onto the earth, there are lightning, voices, thunder, and an earthquake. The array of smells, sounds, visions, and even the bodily sensation of being shaken by the earthquake creates an overwhelmingly sensory cacophony. Juxtaposed with the silence with which the scene commences, the author uses this rhetorical language to lend force to his argument. He uses the body not only to create the sensation of reality to his audience, but also to legitimate his account of God's message, as I will demonstrate in the next section. Analysis, Revelation 10:8 to 10. We could leave 5 lines until we go up. At the start of chapter 10, the seer, John, witnesses the descent of another mighty angel. Allon angelon ischiron, from heaven. The angel is enveloped in cloud and surrounded by elements of radiant light, including a rainbow over his head, a face like the sun, and legs like pillars of fire. The visual language used to describe the angel makes it clear that the angel is associated directly with the divine realm, and when compared with Ezekiel, the angel's role in Revelation emphasizes the transcendence of the event, which must be mediated first by the angel and then by the ingestion of the scroll. This angel holds a little scroll, biblaridion, in his hand, which, unlike the sealed scroll in 5:1, is open. This angel stands in a way that bridges three cosmological geographical zones. His right foot is on the sea. His left foot is on the land, and his right hand is lifted up to heaven. A voice from heaven tells John to take the scroll from the hand of the angel. When the seer obeys, the angel tells him to eat the scroll and warns that even though it will taste sweet, it will be bitter in his stomach. This warning is borne out in the following verse. John then receives the commission to prophecy again against about many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. And at this lovely section, I find it apt to put in time for quotes. 70, 75 and 40, 35. Let's check for some quotes here of this very interesting text. On page 106, I already found something at the very bottom, the penultimate sentence or the pre-penultimate sentence. Just as those who are set apart by the seal of God belong to God, so too those who are marked with the sign of the beast belong to the beast. There's a shift then. in the focus of identifying groups of people before and after the little scroll. Think about the seal of God, and we've mentioned before one scroll with a seal and one without a seal. There's a connection there to things that are real. And the connection is also those who, and continue on page 170, those who are marked are exclusively marked positively with the seal of the divine. And those who are marked are overwhelmingly, after chapter 10, those who are marked are overwhelmingly marked negatively with the mark of the beast. And now we're getting to the more important. Those are just footnotes to what is coming. It's the next chapter further down on the same page, paragraph 3, first paragraph of the new chapter. The poetics of John's, this is like 5 lines down, the poetics of John's visual and auditory experiences include the consistent use of verbs of seeing and hearing, which several scholars have observed. The use of verbs of seeing, therefore, punctuates the overall vision narrative in a way that creates episodic units of divine experience. So now we introduced, and this needs to be combined with the knowledge we have from Julian Jaynes and especially Ian McGilchrist's the most extensive research on sensory relevance. We know in this time of antiquity, we were firmly grounded in what is the soul. Saw, hear, auditory, sensatory, proprioception, all connected with the soul. Earlier, it was called the thymus in the Odysseus or Iliadic scriptures. We see further down, about 15 lines down, the somatic language used throughout Revelation, and in particular, I argue, the key scene where John ingests the scroll exploits cultural knowledge of sensory experience in order to promote the authority of John's message. It becomes real, it touches the soul by ingestion. And as Ian McGilchrist later on, we have a tendency where we depart from the soul. We become distant. Nothing is no longer directly, it's unsoulful. It's the attitude, what later becomes reductionism. It's abandoning, so to speak, the body/soul. Revelation, the last sentence here, expresses meaning since rich sensory language is used throughout the apocalypse. And here further down on the next page, I think we have something of a key. It's 12 lines sort of. Singing is particularly prominent in the context of John and angelic and other voices calling out or singing. We mentioned that earlier on. We know now from linguistics that singing is more foundational, closer to meaning. And singing has an incredible important role in the religious life of all the religions. And it was also attacked by the ones, to use the phrase of the seal, who were negatively pointed out by the seal. And singing was removed in order to remove God from the church, in the taking away of the bodily soul, the things, liturgy, singing, chanting, all those things that are deeply connected with either the soul or the right hemisphere, that can connect us to the soul and God, was voluntarily, intentionally removed. To take away God, to take away spirituality. It is not an happenstance. And as we see further down, 7 angels, it's four lines from where you are now. 7 angels are given trumpets, and another angel takes a censer of incense to the altar. And this is incredibly important. We read how the smoke of the incense rises up along with praise to God. When the angel takes his censer, fills it with fire from the altar, and throws it down on earth, there are lightning, voices, thunder, and an earthquake. The array of smells, sounds, visions, and even the bodily sensation, proprioception, are being shaken by the earthquake, creates an overwhelmingly sensory cacophony. We go further down, creates the sensation of reality to his audience, but also to legitimate his account of God's message. And on page 109, the angel, the second sentence, stands in a way that bridges 3 cosmological geographical zones. His right foot is on the sea, his left foot is on the land, and his right hand is lifted to the heaven. Only through the body can you reach the heaven and the soul. We know that from neurology, from the science of cognition, and it's also now obvious how the soul was removed intentionally by the negative seal to the might of the other forces. It's a prophecy against many people. It's part of the message of revelation, the turn to the left hemisphere, one could say, a bit strong, I'd say, but it's interesting. It's a close connection. The body is being disposed of. It's the left hemisphere the ones who wants to rid the earth of God, they are also necessary because they are part of revelation. They do the handiwork that is needed for the revelation to have its turn. Kalle, coming, that was the end of my comments.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Go to page 105, 106, in the beginning of our lecture today. Here. This is page 106, fourth line. After John eats the scroll, however, specific time units are used, such as time, times, and half time, 42 months, or 1260 days, each adding up to about 3.5 years. So, class, Professor Merlin Warren notes there was earlier, until this moment, there was vague language. Now it's specific. Time is specific. So this import of this, you could refer to quantum physics about the Schrödinger's cat. In this experiment, it's eyes that play the important role, the eyes of the observer, or like the duck and rabbit illustration by Wittgenstein. There is always the eyes, but here finally we have actually the sensory, the taste that comes in. And here we have the, this is a quantum physical, so to say, experiment in line with Schrödinger, but here is the taste. So in quantum physics, so after, let's say that we compare with Schrödinger's cat, when once the observation is made, a time is created after the observation. It's called the Wheeler-Witt equation. And so time can be created after the observation, which is difficult for us to digest, to make a pun.
Oh yes, definitely.
So here we can actually compare it with time here. So time is created after the observation / digestion. But before the observation, or rather the digestion, time is vague. All time is possible, so to say, but only after the observation or the digestion. In this case, everything becomes specific. So therefore, this passage or the observation of Professor Warren is important.
Yes, yes, indeed, yeah. You mean it goes, if I understand correctly, please do tell me otherwise, it goes from the vague, the sort of idle, as we mentioned in the Wittgenstein lectures, and it becomes, because of observation, because bodily and sensory percipitory possibility, it becomes specific, it becomes, well, an object or a thing. Would that be correct?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that, but we know this, that time is created after the fact. We know this only from the 1970s and forwards, from thanks to relativity. Did I understand it correctly? And this, so to say, confirms the equation or vice versa. Hans.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
What the relativity equation showed is that after the observation, time is created, not before.
Very good. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And we could say precise now, thanks to all
space.
All the six senses is created after the observation / digestion or whatever. Never before.
No, never before. And I can also see I connect this because it was such a bodily participation in Christianity and in Revelation. And taking away the body removes the soul, as Ian McKilcris showed so many times in his research and his quite extensive documentation. And that tendency is also part of Revelation. That's sort of the other part of the seal, the one that doesn't get ingested and understood.
Yes, absolutely. So, in a way, so how should we understand the thing that this roll is sweet when you taste it, but when you digest it, it becomes bitter? Well, it's like for people today, for them to understand quantum physics, it's bitter.
Ah,
Or
yeah, yeah, very
I don't know.
good. Quite nice.
But okay, it will remain bitter until, how should we say? No, it's vice versa actually today. So it's bitter for people today, but for them it becomes sweet only after they have digested it completely, and it will take time, a lot of time, because only to understand this thing about time is so difficult to digest that time is after the fact.
Yeah, time starts after the fact. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Time and space are after the event, and the event is the important thing. And the idle point is not something that is of no importance. It's very important because it's the sort of, how do you say, an eternal and immortal source of potentiality. So both are sort of needed. You have this horn of plenty, and then you have the small decided things that are after the specification by observation.
So let me show you about Torah. It says sweet as honey. Let me see this. Let me see if they can. There's a picture of how they today in Israel they put actually literally honey on straws to develop taste for the Old Testament among children.
Yes.
So let me see.
Oh,
Here you can see it.
small complicated letters. I like that.
Let me see if I am able to. It is a custom that dates back at least to 11th century France. Young boys about to begin their formal Jewish education read and they lick honey of Hebrew letters, teaching them from the youngest age that Torah is sweet.
Yeah. Aha, wow.
That's really sweet.
Wonderful. Well, the body is included here, and the devilish counter movement, as the bishop, I spoke to a bishop once, is that taking away the body, that's the deed of the devil. And it's quite new, and it's a fanatical anti-Christian movement, I would say. The body is the soul. It's the seal of the soul. Who said that? Was it Wittgenstein? But still, yeah.
Well, I had problems with the internet connection,
Yes.
but perhaps we should end with this sweet image.
Yeah, why not? And it's probably good time as ever to have a little bone stretcher. I say thank you very much for everyone to participate in this lecture. Have a very good morning, afternoon, day, or evening, wherever you might be. Bye bye for now, and I hereby stop the recording.